Welcome to Food for the Soul presents Intimate Conversations with Talitha Kume, and I am your host, Talitha Kume. And I want to start the show out today with a quote I found online, and it says, "She stood in the storm, and when the wind didn't blow her away, she adjusted her sails." And we're coming to you from beautiful downtown Dallas, brought to you by none other than a Baycott Company Productions. And so today I'm joined with my special guest, Miss Stephanie Lowe, CEO of the J29 Experience. And I was going to tell you about it, but I actually want to allow her to speak about it herself. But welcome, Stephanie, to the show.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here with you on tonight.
Thank you.
And what the J29 is, for those of you who don't know, as Talitha said, I am CEO of the J29 Experience. It is a service based company that specializes in facilitating healing and empowerment in women who are going through divorce and women who have already gone through the divorce procedure. And not only does it help divorced women, but it also helps their families. So what we do is we offer services and resources to divorced women.
Okay.
Some of those services are one-on-one mentoring. Some of them are life group sessions that we hold 3 times a month. And those life group sessions allow the women to kind of interact with other women who are going through similar experiences that they have gone through. And then we also offer biannual retreats. And we also offer an exclusive member-only online resource that actually gives these women tools and resources that they can use in their everyday life. And so that would include Q&A sessions, that would include teleconferences and prayers and webinars and actual templates to help these women with everyday resources. So I'm excited about the change that we're going to be doing with divorced women. And one thing that I understand is that a healed woman is a woman who can save a nation.
You said that. You said that. I believe the same thing, and I was saying before that when we as women are broken, it's hard for us to tend to anyone else.
Absolutely.
And so I felt like a lot of times people were telling me, well, the market or the movement is working with youth or working with young girls because you're going to shape them and mold them. But I was saying, well, if their mothers are not molded, if their
Absolutely.
mothers are not healed, if their mothers are not shaped, then it's going to be hard to be able to get to them because the first woman that they see is their mom.
Absolutely.
And so I totally agree with you. A woman healed can definitely change a nation.
Absolutely.
And so, Stephanie, on my last show, I was talking about me. So I was giving the viewers some insight on some of the things that I struggle with, and that was the reason why I actually wanted you to come on the show. And so I was telling them that I am a 2-time divorcee
Okay.
and working on my third marriage, or on my third marriage rather. And I'm just finding a hard time connecting with my husband, only because I feel like there's so much hurt and so much shame in my past 2 failed marriages that I don't want to mess up. And so instead of kind of living in the now, like he always says, I'm so
Right.
strategic and I plan everything and I do everything. He's like, just let your hair down and breathe. And it's like I feel
Right.
like I can't, because I'm
Yeah.
like, what if I mess up? What if I say something wrong? What if so
Yeah.
first, before you get into my stuff, because I'm all needy trying to get her to talk about me, tell us about your story and
Absolutely.
why J29 was even really birthed, how it got started.
Absolutely. And so, well, Talitha, I am a product of a young girl who went through molestation from someone in her own family.
Okay.
In dealing with molestation, I dealt with a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma as a child. And as a child, I didn't know how to deal with that. And so I packed all of that away.
Okay.
And I found myself experiencing a tragic loss of my brother, who was my best friend
Yeah.
at a young age. And when my brother was tragically killed, I was looking for love.
Yeah.
And my ex-husband was the first person to show me that attention. And that first man who showed me that attention after a tragic loss, I said, I do.
Yeah.
Not thinking about, is this for me? Is this really what I need to do? And so I jumped into something that I should have waited. I had several red flags that said, wait, Didn't say he's not the one, but several flags that said just wait just a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm a headstrong person. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I jumped into it and I endured so many things that I didn't have to go through. So I found myself married at a young age, immediately going from not being a mother to being a mother of two. I had two stepdaughters,
Okay.
and then having two children of my own. My ex husband and I were married for 13 years.
Wow.
And during that process, neither one of us had evolved into who we needed to be. We were both so young that and so prideful, that we didn't try to grow. And so we found ourselves going through a stage where we were trying to figure out who we were and also trying to figure out who we needed the other person to be in our life. And so we went through a lot of struggles with that, and we found ourselves going through a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, and it was on both parts. So many times the woman tells about what the ex-husband did to her, but it was on both parts. And eventually, as I got towards that 13-year mark, it started to go towards physical. And I knew for me that when my children started to see all of that, that I had to make a decision that I can either stay in a situation or an atmosphere that's unhealthy for them,
Yeah.
or I can cause myself to exit out of the situation so that I can create some form of peace with myself, separated from my ex-husband,
Right.
and so that he can create peace for them as well.
Okay.
And so I found myself struggling with God saying, let go. And I'm like, God, surely you're not telling me to let go. I'm a minister, I'm a career woman, I've got it all together, I've got the big house, I've got the fancy car. So everything looked perfect on the outside.
Wow.
But on the inside, I was struggling to evolve into the woman that I knew God was calling me to be, but at the same time, trying to fix something that perhaps wasn't fixable.
Yeah.
And so I think that I found myself in a position that most women find themselves in. Just because you're in love with someone doesn't mean you two are great together. And I had to then make that decision. And as things started to escalate, it was like we were living in the same house, but we were totally apart. He would be on one floor, I would be on another floor, but we're still in the same house. I'm still preaching, I'm still ministering to youth, I'm still going out and doing things to young women and mentoring women who are going through exactly what I'm fighting.
Wow.
And I'm pouring into people, but I feel like I'm having encouragement ripped out from me. And I'm saying, God, what about me? As I'm preaching and ministering to everybody else, what about what I'm dealing with behind closed doors, where I'm having secret crying fests in the shower, where I'm soaking my pillows at night with tears, where I'm trying to encourage my children that, baby, I'm trying, baby, I want us to be a family. And at the same time, I was dealing with the own stubbornness of myself
Yeah.
because I wanted what I wanted when I wanted it, and not realizing that I was full of pride myself. And so, when I found myself going through a divorce, it was like a light bulb went off. It was like I felt like I was free. I felt like a burden had been lifted. And I don't say that to appear as an advocate for divorce,
Yeah.
because I solely believe in marriage until death does us part. And I believe that God places unions together. But what do you do when life happens? What do you do when you rush into something? Or what do you do when you find yourself marrying because you want to be needed?
Yeah.
You want to be loved. And that's where I found myself. And so it was a really hard decision. I think I struggled with it for about 5 years,
Okay.
trying to decide, should I let go? Should I stay? Going to all of these different counselors and having so many people try to pour into us. And at the end of the day, we were still coming back to that very same spot, that very place of brokenness, because neither one of us wanted to understand from the other person's perspective. So do I think the marriage could have been saved? Absolutely. But at the same time, I think that you have to take an examination of self and say, you know what, sometimes we're just better apart. And that's where I found myself. And as I went through a divorce with 2 children, had my career, and had all of everything that looked good on the exterior, I found myself going to different churches, different organizations that were even outside of church saying, I'm a woman who has it all together, so as it appears, but I found myself going through a divorce.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that can help me? Is there anybody that can steer me in the right place? Where do I go from here? How do I start over? And I think a lot of times we get a lot of encouragement. We get a lot of prayer. We get a lot of,
Pray
I'll
about
lift
it.
you up.
Mm-hmm.
But after you're done praying for me, after you're done saying amen, what are the steps, 1, 2, and 3, that I need to do?
Yes.
When my babies are looking me in the face and they're crying and saying, Mommy, why isn't Daddy here? I don't understand what's going on. When I can't get out of bed because I'm stuck with depression for a decision that I made, where do I go from there? When I'm contemplating suicide, where do I go from there? You know, I'm not going to have a hallelujah in my spirit every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel like opening the Bible every day. And so that's where I found myself in a place of desolation, in a place of consecration, where it was nobody but God and myself, literally. My family didn't understand. My friends didn't understand. Everybody began to slowly pull away. And I found myself, I think at that time, a few friends who were supportive. But eventually, as I got deeper into the process, it was like, you're going through this divorce now. You need some single friends, or you need this kind of friend. And so it was almost like God was pulling me away from everything and everybody so that he could speak to me.
Yeah.
And it was during that dark place that J29 was born. And it was born because as a little girl, my mother would always tell me, God has a plan and purpose for your life. You're not going to understand it. I know you don't understand it, and you're going to go through a lot of things. But there is a plan and a purpose for everything. And that's literally where J29 came from, Jeremiah 29:11. And so I took my own experience of what I went through looking for resources for myself. And God just reminded me that there are other women out here who look like they have it all together.
For sure.
But on the inside, they are actually trying to contemplate not throwing in the towel on life. They're contemplating, where do I go from here? And he said, it's time for this to be born so that you can help other women know that we're right here with you. We've been there. We've got the hat. We've got the t-shirt. We've got the shoes. We've got the bracelet to match.
Right.
And you can get through this. And there is life after divorce. And even if people pull away from you, it's okay. You know, and that's how J29 was born. And so it started with the book, the J29 Experience, Standing in Exile. And the business was just born immediately thereafter, the J29 Experience.
Gosh, that is an awesome story. And I have a couple of other questions because I really want you to kind of speak on some of the things that you and I, talked about, or you heard me speak about. So we're going to get to that, but you guys, we will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Though you may not believe it, right now, there's a little boy or girl who every night is forcefully taken from house to house, man to man, bed to bed, only to have their bodies violated, intimately touched, completely against their will. More than that, right now there's a man or a woman who is being mentally, physically, or emotionally abused, right here in the city of DeSoto. I am their hope.
Yes, I am your child. But does that give you the right to punch me, slam me, kick me, slap me? Absolutely not. It is not my normal, and it shouldn't be our normal. I am their voice.
In Dallas County alone, many children are not only affected physically, but mentally as well.
No child should ever have to witness their parents go through domestic violence. It could leave a permanent image that affects them emotionally and mentally throughout their entire life.
According to the Texas Council on Family Violence, 31 children were in the house when the killing occurred, and 17 of those children witnessed the crime. We are their light.
Statistics show that 146 women in Texas alone have been killed by their intimate partners.
Children who witness violence at home are twice as likely to abuse as adults.
40% of women are killed statewide trying to leave a relationship, or were in the process of leaving when they were killed.
Locally,
30% of abuse victims have sought help before they were killed, with men being the lowest percentage.
All of these incidents could have been avoided if someone had just said something.
On October 28th, our community will band together in the fight against domestic violence. For together, we will be their voice. If you see something, say something.
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 Welcome back to Food for the Soul presents Intimate Conversations with Talitha Kume, and that is me. And we were before we went to the break, if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Miss Stephanie Lowe, the owner, CEO of J29. Say it again. It's J20, just J29.
The J29 experience.
J29 experience, you guys. And so, her company deals with women or helping women through divorce or
Correct.
through the process of healing after a divorce. And so we were talking about, if you guys had a chance to view my last show, I was telling you guys a little bit about myself, and I was telling Stephanie a little bit about myself. And so I'm wondering, Stephanie, what kind of steps, what kind of plans, because I'm an action person too, I'm a problem solver. I'm like, okay, let's we thought about it, it's the situation, we know what it is, now let's fix it.
Right.
So what type of steps do you think that you would give someone like me who is, I'm really trying to walk it out, I really am, but it's just, I think it's the fear that's holding me back, not the fact that I don't have a good man, not the fact that I don't think that we're meant to be together, but just that I'm just not 100% there.
Right. I think that you're dealing with something that a lot of women deal with. And one thing I will say as starters is fear has a way of crippling us.
Yes.
And one thing that I'm reminded of is that God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. And so when I think about that, I have to think about myself and what I experience. It's in a little different aspect. But in dealing with the abuse and the trauma that I went through in my childhood, I allowed that fear to cripple me because I didn't allow myself to heal.
Okay.
And so one thing that I would say, number one, even now, you still have to heal. You have to heal for the sake of yourself, number one, because you cannot fully evolve into the person individually or the wife that your husband needs and wants you to be until you get healing from that fear. And so then that question would arise, well, how do I deal with fear?
Yeah.
What are the tangible steps that I take to deal with fear? And my recommendation would be see a therapist. So many of us in local communities don't want to see therapists because we don't want to be labeled.
Yeah.
We don't want to be identified or diagnosed with something. But I'm a firm believer that God put therapists and doctors and lawyers here for a reason. And, it's an awesome thing to allow them to use their expertise in our lives to get us the healing that we need. So I would say, number one, reach out to a therapist, to get that individual healing that you need. Because you need to be able to connect with your husband in ways that you're doing now. You need to be able to connect with his soul, not just on the exterior, but there's something about, and your husband, but there's something about men. When their women connect with them, sometimes you don't have to say a word.
Yeah.
Just being in each other's presence, it makes the world of a difference. And so the number one thing is I would recommend seeing a therapist because you have to tackle that.
Yeah.
And I think once you tackle your own wounds, then you'll be able to grow into who it is that you need to be as a wife. And that even means surrounding yourself with other women who are married or surrounding yourself with other women who have gone through multiple marriages.
Okay.
So that you guys can relate to one another.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing more awesome than being able to connect with another woman and saying, you know what, girl, I've gone through that too. Or, I've experienced that as well. And so I think that you need to have the kind of big sister, little sister relationships that a lot of normal people, or a lot of people, say for example, your everyday friends, they may not be able to relate directly, or family may not be able to relate. So number one, a therapist. Number two, find yourself and connect with other women. For example, even in the J29 experience, the life group sessions. Some of the things that we do is I bring in different consultants who are experts in their area.
Yeah.
So it's not just everyday people, but these are certified, licensed experts. And some of them are therapists. And so we bring them in, they bring in the knowledge that the women need, resources that the women need. And these women meet monthly, and they go through this experience of knowing that, hey, I'm in a confidential setting.
Yes.
I am in a setting where I am safe.
Right.
My emotions are safe. Who I am is safe. I don't have to put on a mask for the world, but I can let my hair down and talk about, hey, this is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, because I think as women, we are so strong, and we're stronger than people know.
Yeah.
We deal with so much, but at the end of the day, behind closed doors, you have to deal with self.
Yeah.
When everything else comes off. And so I think after those two things are mastered, I think that you'll definitely begin to see growth in your marriage. And then you have to allow yourself, push yourself to overcome fear. Well, what does that mean? Do things that are out of your comfort zone for your husband.
Girl, I'm trying. I have really been working on that. I really have been working
dates
on
that
that.
are out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
If you know you're not a dancer, go dancing, honey. Let's go dancing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to allow yourself to come out of your comfort zone, because you know what? When you begin to come out of your comfort zone, he's going to start to see a new side of you.
Yes.
And I find that when we're out of our comfort zone, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because we're like, this is not comfortable. I'm not used to this, but I'm going to try it anyway. And so when you allow yourself to be completely vulnerable with your husband, it will then allow him to cater to what you need. And believe it or not, your husband has the power to heal as well.
Jesus,
Because when we are vulnerable and transparent with our spouses, it allows them to say, you know what, I'm seeing you kind of different. We're vibing kind of different. And you want that connection with your spouse to be organic. You don't want it to be, something that you're trying so hard to do. You want it to be organic. So I would definitely start with those things.
Thank you. Look at her, Iyanla Van Zandt, in my life right now. My next question is, do you think there's a time limit to truly heal from a divorce? So say, between my first divorce and my second divorce, I think I was saying it was about 8 years but before I got married again. Do you think that there's a time limit on when a divorcee should be like, hey, I'm going to just jump right back on the horse and start riding again? Do you think?
I do not, because every person is different.
Okay.
Every marriage is different. Every divorce is different. And just like, we grieve the death of a loved one, divorce is a death.
Yeah.
And we have to go through that grief process, and so even for myself, I had to go through the grief process.
Okay.
You'll find yourself being angry. You'll find yourself being sad. You'll find yourself being confused. You'll find yourself being bitter. And then all of these steps of grief, there's no order to them. You can go through them all several times. Some people heal more quickly than others. And so I would not put a time restraint on it. What I will say is that each person needs to come in tune with who they are and be real enough with themselves to say, you know what, I'm not ready for anything else.
Yeah.
And if they jump into a rebound relationship, they're only going to find themselves going through that cycle again.
And that's what you don't want.
Absolutely.
How important do you think that counselors or therapists are in the discussion of divorce? So say, for instance, my husband and I were going through, we haven't really talked about divorce at all. Would you suggest we actually, you know what? I'll take that back. What if things are going great? What if things are all right? How would you suggest counseling or anything like that to kind of hold that together before any signs of divorce or any discussions of divorce?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because I really feel like when you have the doors of communication open, it doesn't allow anything to come in. When you all keep everything transparent, I believe in being proactive, proactive as you can be.
I do too, yeah.
And I do understand, though, in some situations in marriages and relationships, It could be one spouse that is totally proactive and
Yeah,
one that
and
may
the other
be
one is
passive aggressive.
so reactive.
And
Yeah.
so, how do you handle a situation like that? You have to find ways to involve your spouse, but not involve your spouse.
Okay.
You know, and so some of those tangible ways may be you guys may have a close friend that is, has gone through something like that. Sometimes it takes just kind of bringing up that conversation and getting
Yeah.
that topic going, but not doing it directly.
Yeah.
Allowing the other person to do it, because the first thing that men
And
will
just
say,
kind of having a discussion. I'm not going to no counseling.
right, right,
Yeah.
and a lot of times men will take advice from someone else, other than their wife.
Right.
Or if you say, "Baby, we need to talk," or "Baby, I think
Lord
we
Jesus.
should go
Oh, you
to
know
a
they
counselor."
hate that. Oh, they hate that.
Exactly.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes.
like a red flag. And so you've got to know how to do it indirectly.
Okay.
And allow their friends to kind of bring up the topic.
Okay. Well, do you think that once the love is gone, you can come back from that? What do you think about that? Once the marriage is in the state of, I'm just kind of done. Like I don't, when you've been told I don't love you anymore. I don't have any feelings for you anymore like that. I think we should go our separate ways. Do you think that the marriage can be salvaged?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that any relationship is salvageable. And I say that because all it takes is one person to want it. And it's hurtful to hear. I'm sure we all have been in a situation of rejection. And that's what that is. It's a form of rejection to hear your spouse say, I don't want this anymore. I'm not in love with you. And so I think that in coming to grips with that, it can still be worked out. You can still fall back in love. And I actually believe that all marriages go through a season where one or both have fallen out of love.
We're not feeling each other
now.
now.
You're working my last nerves. Your little things that you're doing are getting under my skin.
Yes, bothering my
I think that I think that every relationship goes through that.
Okay.
But I think that there has to at least be one who wants to try to get things back on the right track.
Okay.
And so the tangible action behind that, start back dating. You have to remember how you fell in love. Remember what drew you to that person, what you liked about that person, and get back in tune with that and start back doing those things.
Well, I feel like I'm on the right track. My husband and I, we do have date nights. Our Monday nights are date nights, and so we try and keep that fresh and exciting and try and do different things other than just sitting at home in front of the television, which is what we do every night. So yeah, good advice. Good advice. My last question for you, Stephanie, is before we get out of here, I really want to know, or I want our viewers to find out how, like I said, if I'm a divorcee, how do I get involved with J29, the J29 experience, and what do you think as a divorcee I will get out of it?
Absolutely. I think that's an awesome question. The J29 experience, with all of the resources that we have to offer, I think that number one, it would help you to, accountability.
Okay.
Because one thing that J29 does, and for, as I said earlier, it started with the book, the J29 experience, Standing in Exile. And what the book does, it goes through the different stages that I experienced in going through my divorce. And I'll say that to add on to it because I also have over 16 years of legal experience behind me. And so not only do I come to the table with the experience of, gosh, I'm actually going through a divorce, I'm going through all of these motions, I'm having to make all these changes to my life, but to have the legal knowledge behind it, to say, okay, when you're going through this process in the courtroom, this is how you're going to feel.
Yeah.
As you're coming out of this process, this is how you're going to feel. When you're signing that decree, a slew of emotions are going to fall over you.
Man,
you may not make it out of the courtroom without crying, without falling into a fit,
been there,
without feeling like you've ruined your children's lives.
Yeah.
And so what the J29, my purpose is to facilitate, number one, help that woman, help you identify what are those steps to take. And even after you've gone through it and you found yourself going through not one divorce, but 2 divorces. Number one, identifying the accountability within.
Yeah.
Because we all play a part.
What part did I play in it?
We all play a part in the choices of our own life.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to, number one, identify accountability. And so get involved in, if it's one-on-one mentoring that you prefer, because not everyone will do good in a life group session.
Yeah.
Some people do great in a one-on-one session.
Some of us are not talkers.
Exactly.
Or somebody will usurp the whole conversation, and
Right.
you're like, dang, it's like 12 o'clock and I haven't had a chance to share my story yet.
And some people are not just comfortable yet,
Yeah.
because they've just gone through too many traumatic experiences. And so J29 has that one-on-one mentoring
Okay.
that allows me to dive into what it is you've gone through, how you can work on that, and not only just, you know, I don't want to just pour in that knowledge. I don't want to just say, okay, we've talked one time. No, if we need to talk weekly, if we need to talk monthly, if I need to follow
I'm
up with
talking
you
about,
and say,
yeah.
hey girl, how are you doing? Okay, I'm feeling something, you know, I want to connect not just on an emotional level, but spiritually.
Yeah.
You know, because you need to be able to connect with that client. And so for J29, my purpose is to connect with the client,
Okay.
to make sure that they get that healing, to make sure that they are empowered to actually change, not go back and revisit the healing, not be reminded of what they went through or allow that fear to cripple them. And so the one-on-one mentoring is something, and then the life group sessions, if you feel like that's something for you, then the life group sessions is definitely something that would be a way to go as well, because it gives you that safe haven to say, you know what, I need to get back to me. You know, sometimes in marriages, we forget about us.
Yeah.
You know, and in order for us to get healing, sometimes we first just need to get in an atmosphere that allows us to say, let me just let my hair down.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by all these women who have gone through what I've gone through. Let us just go to a spa.
Yeah.
You know, let's just get a massage. Let's just get a facial. Let's, you know, have yoga. Let's have meditation. Let's de-stress. Let's find out about, let's work with the nutritionist. We have all of these consultants who are ready to go, who are bringing in this information to help women, you know. And then, you know, from there, there's the online exclusive group that allows women to be in a private setting. Some people are better off on social media than they are actually sitting down or talking on a phone. And so we have that setting as well, so that they can interact with other women who have gone through what they've gone through, who are possibly in what they're going through.
Okay.
But all of these women can come out together saying, you know what, if I made it out, you can too. You know, and so I'll say this, you know, I was so bound by fear. I was bound by not only fear, but being a perfectionist. I wanted everything perfect. I wanted so badly to have that perfect family. And when I came out with my divorce, it was like the shame crippled me alone.
Okay.
And I had to find myself going through these steps of saying, you know what, God, I realized that I played a huge part in what I went through. And so I had to, number one, heal, accept accountability, own my part of the choices that I made. And then I had to work on my own healing. I saw therapists and I saw counselors, and I did the same thing for my children. So not only does J29 offer resources for you as a woman, but if there are children involved, we want to make sure that you all get the healing that you need to live a happy, healthy, stress-free life.
Well, tell our viewers or tell us how we can reach you. Like, give me your social media handles, your website, and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. So the J29 Experience, number one, the book, J29 Experience, Standing in Exile, is available on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
And all of the information can be found on my website, which is www.j29experience.com. And all of my handles for Facebook, it is the J29 Experience. On Instagram, we are J29 Experience. The same handle is on Twitter, J29 Experience.
Okay.
And but all of that is also available again at the website, www.j29experience.com.
Well, Stephanie, you have given me an earful. I am so excited about your new venture, your organization, and I definitely, you know, when I come across some women, I'm going to point them, you know, that are facing that, I'm going to point them in your direction. I was so excited to have you on the show, and thank you for coming out at such short notice. But like we said, God does things. He just moves stuff around, and I think that this was important for you to actually be on the show, following my show, to kind of help me, you know, deal with some stuff. So, you guys, that is it for tonight. We thank you guys for tuning in to Food for the Soul presents Intimate Conversation with Talitha Kume, and make sure you guys join us next month for 2 new guests as we try and walk this thing out together. So until next time, have an intimate conversation with God first, your creator, and allow him to heal, direct, and guide you. And we are just here for your support to be able to help you walk through this journey. And remember, tears are words that need to be written. So share your story. Somebody might need to hear it. Until then, good night.
My whole life seems like I've been searching, always coming up short, much less than perfect, but everything I need is all inside me. Before you walk, you gotta crawl.